Welcome to Nolan Knows. It's time to look at the news. First up, it's the First Lady. She was on Jeopardy pushing her healthy food thing that no kid in his right mind likes, and apparently the top of her head looked bald. It's just an illusion, kind of like the benefits of Obamacare. Ford's new car is going to force you to obey the speed limit. The technology is advancing so fast it's hard to believe. You can override that, by the way, but it's really scary for a guy like me who still has a manual transmission. The FBI is alleged to have tweaked the numbers in their mass shootings report, and this is according to Dr. John Lott, the author of More Guns, Less Crime. What they've done is they've written this report, frankly, so vaguely that they conflate mass shootings with active shooter. It's a bunch of hooey, and the fact is that by and large, with a few bumps along the road, mass shootings are about the same as they've been for decades. The Pentagon is thinking of lifting the ban on transgender troops. Some military folks are fighting back, but Corporal Klinger thinks it's a fine idea. 47% of Americans, according to a banking survey, don't save money. It's not hard to believe when you think that somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 50% of their income goes up in income tax, FICA tax, sales tax, federal excise tax, real estate tax. It's pretty hard to save when the government is taking all your money to save you. Apparently, Kraft Foods and Heinz, the ketchup people, have merged. And this will make them about the 5th largest food manufacturer in the world. So Heinz is number 5. Let's hope they catch up to number 1. It's time now that we take a look at the story of the week. The story of the week is Ted Cruz, the senator from Texas. This freshman senator has a lot of fight in him, and he's thrown his hat in the ring officially to run for president of the United States. Some people might argue, hey, we already had a first-term senator. How's that working? I'm not sure that's an argument that frankly shoots down his presidential aspirations, but I'm not entirely sure Ted Cruz is the right guy for the job. A lot of things that he believes in I think are good, and I think he's a patriotic American, and he's working real hard to bring in that far right wing of the Republican Party, but I'm not sure that makes the party grow. I'm not sure that, frankly, he can pull it off. If there's a senator who actually can make the party grow, it would be Rand Paul. He's done well with Democrats. He's not afraid to do outreach. At least as a nominee, I think he would make the Republican Party grow. Republicans have an image problem. The image problem for the Republicans is they're 50-plus-year-old white men, and frankly, the world is changing. It's kind of outgrowing them. So Ted Cruz, good guy. I like him. I like a lot of what he believes. I don't think he's going to get elected. I don't think he's going to get nominated, and I don't think he'll grow the party. He's best staying in the U.S. Senate and fighting for smaller government and, frankly, standing for what he believes in. That's my opinion. It sucks to suck, and the government just sucking the money out of your wallet. Well, it especially sucks to suck if you live in California. The reason is they've got a sex offender problem. Now, not like it's a widespread sex offender problem, but there is a particular sex offender that is problematic and costing taxpayers a ton of money. You see, if you're convicted of a sexual offense, rape or sexual assault, you can't live within X number of miles of a school. Because apparently they think in California, you can't drive or walk once you've been convicted of a sex crime. I tend to think they can find their way to a school if they choose to. But the real problem here is that he is going to live, this sex offender that they've turned loose, in a $3,000 a month, 3,000 square foot house with a built-in swimming pool and a fire pit. Pretty nice digs on the taxpayers' dime, because apparently that's the only place they can find where he's far enough away from a school to live. I think there's a bigger problem. I think if you've raped someone, that you ought to spend pretty much the rest of your life in prison. The pathologies that develop in the rape victim's mind and what happens to them and the suffering they go through for the rest of their lives means that you ought to be punished for at least as long as the pathologies exist. If the state of California really wants to find this guy an abode, I'd suspect they should put him someplace where there are bars and armed guards, where he's restricted, where he can't get to a school, where he can't walk and can't drive to get to kids, and where he won't be sexually assaulting any more innocent women. And if it costs $3,000 a month, it won't suck to suck that money out of my pocket. I'll be glad to keep him behind bars. It's time for If They Were Here. My If They Were Here this week is Bowe Bergdahl. You'll recall that he was held by the Taliban for several years and finally traded off for several Guantanamo detainees in a trade that I frankly didn't think was a particularly good deal. Well, Bowe, here's what I would tell you, because I've had a discussion with my listeners on the radio program today, and it was long and involved, and in that discussion, a lot of people disagreed with me. A lot of my libertarian friends think you stood on principle and you did the right thing. I don't think so. I think you need to be punished. What you're alleging is that you didn't like what the United States military was doing in Afghanistan, and you thought it was morally wrong. Well, if you thought so, you should have gone to your commander and said, hey, listen, I'm not doing this. I think it's wrong. Bring me up on charges. Send me to prison if I have to go, but I am not going to violate my principles. That would have been the thing to do. Instead, what did you do? You left. And when you left, people went out looking for you. They risked their lives. Some allege that people died looking for you. You were irresponsible. You signed a contract. You knew what you were up to. You did it voluntarily, and then you abandoned your fellow troops. Now, I think you should be punished. Even if you were morally on the right track when you objected to what they were doing, you handled it the wrong way. That's what I tell you, Bowe Bergdahl. You deserve to be in prison.